itself.
Find them online at airserve.com/Springfield.
Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Shealy-Sorin. Get the health answers you need from the creator of Holistic Medicine and the 2020 Holistic Doctor of the Year. To be a part of the show, call 417-447-1777. Wellness Wednesday. Now, here are your hosts, Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Shealy-Sorin.
And good afternoon. We're here to talk about everything because it is all related to your health. But we're going to focus primarily on pulsed electromagnetic frequency, the best electromagnetic therapy in the world. But remember, we're still in the scamdemic. Rob just picked that new word for it. We've got 5 or 6 different ways you could call all of this nonsense. But at any rate, it's where we are. You still need to consider food and health supplements. And there's only one place that I go, and you should too. Spring Valley Natural Foods, the best and easiest to get to and to shop in. They carry, of course, all of my goodies, Dr. Shealy's Essentials, Youth Formula, Progesterone Cream, Magnesium Lotion, the 5 Bliss oils. But more importantly, they've got thousands of other goodies, and they serve you. The minute you walk in the door, there's someone to ask you what you need, and they'll help you find it. You don't have to go spending an hour trying to find things. Spring Valley Natural Foods, right there next to FedEx office, the place where I shop, and you should too. And of course, we're still in that situation where you may wish to consider acupuncture for general health enhancement. And there's one and only one health food. Well, there's only one acupuncturist in the world that I can recommend, and that is Dr. Jill, 1200 East Woodhurst Drive, Suite R300, 877-1300, wellnessconceptsclinic.com for the acupuncture of the millennium.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, I'll second that notion. I've actually had treatment by her as well. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, without further ado, let's touch on let's just go with the topic of interest. And why is it important in this time?
Well, it is the safest treatment that I know. It's safer than any drug in the world. And we have really thousands of articles that support its benefits in everything in the world as well. Mm-hmm. But it's particularly good for pain, depression, anxiety, as well as a whole bunch of other things, including people with lung disease, people who've had a stroke, people with coronary artery disease. I mean, it is my favorite tool in the last 66 years.
And just for anyone who hasn't caught what we're talking about, it's PEMF, Pulsed Electromagnetic Field Therapy.
And there's only one that really puts the brain into gamma, the in the zone sense of who cares, let go, and I'm happy.
Yes, and we could use a lot more happiness in this world in this time and place. Well, everything, lots of stuff happening. So let's talk about the history, the importance, and everything about PEMF.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to read you a brief list of those things in which it has been published. But again, there are thousands of articles. Addiction. Now, we are the only people who have demonstrated that it cures narcotic or opioid addiction. 100%. They're now 35 months free of addictive symptoms. Mm-hmm. Anxiety. It's the single greatest thing for curing anxiety. The number one cause of almost all of the problems. Anxiety leads to depression and disease. It is great for autism, ADHD, post-traumatic stress disorder, insomnia, concussion, memory loss, mild or moderate traumatic brain injury, multiple sclerosis, Parkinsonism. I'll tell you a favorite case on that one. Stroke, tremor, all kinds of things.
And let's not forget about musculoskeletal and muscles and bones.
Well, of course, because it improves circulation everywhere in the body.
Mm-hmm.
It reduces inflammation and swelling. It increases energy production. Who can't use more of that? It rebalances your circadian rhythm, the normal sleep and waking patterns. It improves circulation of blood supply everywhere, not just in the coronary arteries, but everywhere in the body. It increases oxygen. I had one lady who had an oxygen saturation of 75%, chronic lung disease. Within 40 minutes, she had an oxygen saturation of 96%.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. It helps growth factors, but one of the ways it does that is improving nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the molecule for producing energy inside your cells.
Mm-hmm.
And its deficiency is associated with every disease.
I'd like to jump in with an analogy or a concept. If you ever think of recharging a battery, let's say the battery starts to go down and then nothing works, really, no matter how wonderful the device is. So this is literally a recharge, a cellular recharge for trillions of cells in the body, for everything that we do, everything that the body does.
It increases metabolism.
Yes.
Just everything. It helps you produce antioxidants. You can actually don't have to eat them all. It'll help you make them. It enhances detoxification, wound healing, tissue regeneration, stimulates and rebalances the immune system, improves nerve conduction and regeneration. Now, I started working with this type of thing 8 or 9 years ago, and the first patients we worked with had diabetic neuropathy, loss of sensation in the feet, and painful loss of sensation. And one 40-year-old man, he's lying there, and I'm just beaming this thing at his feet, and all of a sudden he said something. I said, "John, what's going on?" He said, "I feel as if my feet are moving." His temperature increased 12 degrees in his feet.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, diabetic neuropathy in the conventional world, because I'm still in the conventional world as well as wellness, there is no answer for diabetic neuropathy.
No treatment at all.
Yeah. So that's huge. That's a big thing.
It helps support neural stem cell production. Stem cells, every cell in your body is reproduced within a maximum of 7 years. So the white blood cells within days, and the red blood cells within weeks. And it helps produce the new cells. Reducing pain. Well, that's, of course, its greatest benefit. It is the single greatest assistant in reducing pain almost anywhere in the body.
And by the way, let me just jump in the emergency room world, because that's my other world. Pain is the most common symptom, the most common reason why people come. And sometimes they just want the pain relief and not even address the underlying issue, which is wrong. But pain is a huge factor. But yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, it rebalances your neurotransmitters. Now, remember, there's a whole bunch of hormones and neurotransmitters. You may know about epinephrine. Well, that, of course, is the stress reaction neurochemical. It gives you a surge of energy. But when it comes out, it puts up cortisone. And cortisone is okay for an acute situation, but if it keeps up over a longer period of time, it makes you more ill. And to bring that down with DHEA, dehydroepiandrosterone. But that system wears out in the vast majority of people. By age 40, the healthy individual has probably at least not more than 80% of what they had at age 25. By age 80, they have an average DHEA of 10% of what they had at age 25. Now, in 1 month from today, I will be 88, and my DHEA is still that of a healthy 30-year-old. Not because I take it, because I stimulate my body to make it with several different techniques, but PEMF is one of those that helps that. It is, well, the single best creation, in my opinion, in my last 60-plus years of work. I personally use it sitting behind my back all day. When it's on your back, your head gets 50 to 80% as much as your back does. Your legs get just as much. When you have it on your head, it puts the brain into gamma. and that is, who cares? I can detach from all of this scamdemic, fake-ademic, pseudodemic just by, well, detaching. And I can do that easier when I've got the PEMF device on.
And I'm going to say something. My last several shifts in the emergency room, I don't do it that often, but it's, on the weekends and so on and so forth. The level of anxiety, stress, and, mental health driven factors way up.
And, of course, to my point of view, I want to give you my favorite case, perhaps of all. A 60-year-old man with the most severe Parkinsonism I've ever seen. He's brought in a wheelchair with two people holding him by his arms. He couldn't put his feet on the floor. 1 month later, he walked 40 feet from the parking lot into the clinic, just from using the PEMF device on his head. A 50-year-old woman who couldn't tell me the time of day, after 1 month, could give you the days and the months and time and everything else. So it is the single greatest rejuvenator of the body that I've seen.
I'll bring another example. My favorite case, myself. I had a double fracture, ankle and foot. This was about 2 years ago, wintertime. And the healing time was told to me about 8 weeks or so, 6 to 8 weeks at best. I used the PEMF. Within 2 to 3 weeks, I was walking. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I'm still doing fine. And then within another week or two, I started running lightly. But, I mean, that's just great.
Well, and we see that kind of thing all the time. And in one patient who had been on an antidepressant drug, narcotics, and an anxiety drug, she says, oh, my God, it's better than all of those combined. So it is worth considering. Now, there are dozens of companies that make these devices. The one that advertises that it's the number one seller in the country is Beamer. It only costs about $6,000. So I have a friend who owns one. He brought it over. It does put the brain into delta. So if you want to fall asleep, it's not bad. But he bought one of ours afterwards because ours puts it in gamma, and ours is only $1,600.
Yes.
I mean, comparatively speaking, I would say ours is 10 times better, if not more than that, than the Beamer is. Now, we often can try it. And most often, right there in the office, within 20 to 40 minutes, the patient already feels the benefits. That's what I like so much about it, because the only contraindication is a pacemaker. It won't hurt you, but it might interfere with the pacemaker. And, of course, we wouldn't use it in someone who's pregnant, because you don't do anything unusual in someone who's pregnant. But really, I just had a woman today who's 9 months older than I am. One of the few patients I see who's 9 months older than I am. And she came in with very severe depression and anxiety after having a TIA, a transient ischemic attack, in her left brain 2 months ago. Well, she's now going to be using this at home, and I expect within a week her symptoms will be gone.
The other thing I'm going to mention, and this is the greatest compliment to the PEMF unit that we have, the Shealy-Sorin Wellness PEMF, is animals, dogs and cats. Now, interesting. Not that we treat dogs and cats. We are not a veterinary center, by the way. So just to make clear, if you bring your pet in, we won't be able to treat medically. I'm just saying, but we love pets. The concept, the idea is, I keep hearing from people who have their devices that their animals actually go right where the ring is, and they sit there, and then they feel better.
Even cats,
even cats. Yeah.
And I have a friend who has
Especially
a dog.
Cats.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a friend who has a dog that's had bad hip problems, and she said it made a big difference in the dog.
But same concept. You're working with a cellular structure, energy,
Exactly.
healing, and animals are, they're made of the same carbon structure that a lot of our tissues is.
Now, I want to mention frequency. Our particular Gamma PEMF device puts out only 5.83 cycles per second, up to 56.1 cycles per second.
Schumann frequency 7.83.
56.81
Up to.
every 10 minutes. It sweeps the chakras. Now, interestingly, you may not know what chakras is, but the legs have the sciatic plexus, of course. That's the 5.83 to 9.83 cycle. Every chakra goes up by 2, but it's plus or minus 2 as well. And the brain, of course, is at 6 times 7.83, but the connection with God and the soul is at 7 times 7.83. Again, plus or minus 2. Well, ours is the only one that sweeps the chakras, and it's the only one that puts the brain into gamma, and it's so safe you could use it 24 hours a day.
Yes. I want to jump in with a little fun fact. I'm a huge fan of history and, lots of interesting things. And if you look at ancient temples, for people who are not used to frequencies and energy and vibration, and there's still some people who think that they have to see something with their own eyes to believe it. But that's why we have research, and that's why we do this kind of studies to make sure that our statements are appropriate. But there's been actually frequency and energy generation. You look at some of the ancient temples, and there is, for example, 111 cycles per second, which is a frequency found in there's multiple temples going back to thousands of years. So people have known, ancients have known about frequency somehow, even before our science, conventional medicine is starting to approach it, and it is starting to approach it.
Well, the interesting thing is, if you are having depression, anxiety, or pain, or any other major problem that's not being healed by drugs within a couple of months, the time has come to consider using the Gamma PEMF device.
One thing I found very helpful with the Gamma PEMF is Autogenic Training.
Yes.
And together, in unison.
Well, there's no question about it. Autogenic Training is the foundation for biogenics, which we talked about a lot over the last few weeks. It is the most studied meditative experience, more than all of the forms that I know of. We have 28,000 scientific references on the benefits of just repeating, my arms and legs are heavy and warm, etc., and the 6 phrases that make up basic autogenic training. It retrains the brain so you can detach from anxiety.
One of the most effective ways of biofeedback, going back to 1900s, literally.
Well, of course. And, of course, before biofeedback was called autogenic feedback training.
Exactly. So we're at the roots of the foundation of this whole
Exactly.
field. Yeah, fantastic. And as we go on further, in a few minutes, we'll open up to the questions about anything and everything. Feel free to ask us about energy, frequency, the PEMF, the various options, but also at that point, anything goes. Any question, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, well, anything that we can answer, we will certainly be happy to do so. But let's just kind of close the topic, so to speak, with just a quick summary of what we're talking about. So PEMF, pulse electromagnetic field device, especially the Shealy-Sorin wellness model, because, the others just don't do what we need them to do.
We've tested 4 different ones from other companies, and not one of them puts the brain in gamma.
That's right.
And from my point of view, you want to be in gamma as much as possible. Now, of course, you've got to be in beta to understand what we're talking about, to be alert in learning. But if you want to detach from stress, gamma is the way to go.
Yes.
Every moment that you don't need to do something else, you can be in gamma.
And there's a huge, tremendous power in detaching and being in the present. Now, that's not just words. I'm actually realizing this in everyday life with my clients and patients. I've literally took somebody with severe anxiety, stress, depression. We put the PEMF on, and for the first time, I literally I want to use this as a testimonial at some point. This is so powerful, is that they were able to slow everything down, get everything clear, and finally realize, I'm okay, even for a moment. But that's a feeling. Once you know what that is, you can come back there, we can help you get there.
I just had a case like that last week, the most anxious person I've ever seen in the last 60 years. And by the time she left the office, she would fight me if I tried to take it away from her.
So that's PEMF, Shealy-Sorin PEMF. Again, there's many devices, many things out there, many other ways to optimize your life, but just one of the most amazing tools. And unless we have anything else
to say,
we can open up to the questions.
Let's go for it. If you want to ask a question or make a comment about anything, because it's already dealt, now is the time. Open line Wednesday to ask a question. 417-447-1777 at KICK 92.3 FM and 1340 AM. So if we haven't got a call, then we can talk about all kinds of other things. Now is the time to detach not only from all of the other nonsense going on, but we've got a caller. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah, Dr. Shealy. For well over a year, I've been dealing with venous leg ulcer on my left leg, the lower left leg, and I have been going to the Mercy Wound Clinic since January, but it's cleared up a lot of it. But there's one spot that is just really being stubborn, and I was wondering if you have any suggestions on the treatment of a venous leg ulcer.
Wonderful. This is Dr. Shealy-Sorin. I'm going to jump in. The answer is, well, yes, absolutely. Would love to have you if you're in Springfield area. One of the things we would do is apply the PEMF device, but we can also talk about some other things like topical ozone, which can be wonderful for healing, and there's a number of other modalities. But the PEMF, what we talked about earlier, is certainly to increase the blood flow, circulation, and capacity to heal. Dr. Shealy?
Yeah, that would be at the top of my list.
Yeah.
The ozone and the PEMF device are by far the best option.
And if you'd like, I can give you the contact to the clinic, and you can make an appointment or, call us. We'll get you settled, and we'll see what we can do for you. 417-351-5221.
Okay. Any other ideas, Dr. Shealy, on just a holistic treatment?
Well, I'd have to look at it, but, basically, are you already taking vitamin D3?
Yes, I am.
Are you taking a good high-potency B complex?
Probably not.
Okay,
I'll look in.
You need a minimum of 25 milligrams of basic 1, 2, 3, and 6.
1, 2, 3, and
Shealy
B complex.
Mm-hmm.
And you need a minimum of 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day.
And that's Youth Formula.
Yeah, Youth Formula.
Mm-hmm. And you can find that on the website if you like. Or find an equivalent, which is fine.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Dr. Shealy.
Hey, thanks for calling.
Okay, bye.
And we had another caller, but they hung up. So if you are ready, we're ready for you right now. 417-447-1777. Remember, everything affects everything. Every thought you have is important. Thinking sets in motion spiritual, physical, emotional, everything. It creates your body, your mind. And we will be, in a moment taking a break, but keep the idea. If we've got a call, let's try to take it quickly. No, not. Sorry. I saw a flashy red light. I'm seeing things. The important thing is you need to focus on yourself and your health. Nobody can do it for you. We can make suggestions, but I can't breathe for you. I can't eat for you. I can't move for you. And we'll be right back after this break.
Now, so the radio is on a small break, but we still are on Facebook Live. So let's continue sharing some wisdom until it's time for a break to be over. Now, I'd like to say something. Every thought is a prayer. You mentioned something very, very powerful, by the way. Very powerful. Oh, by the way, this is yours?
No.
Oh, never mind. Yeah. Water is important. Hydration is the key, by the way. If you're not drinking enough water, please do. Little side point. But
not fluoridated.
Not fluoridated, yes. So let's talk about the concept of the power of the mind. And now we talked about the PEMF and how it works with the mind and the brain to put into the gamma place, which is in the zone. The mind is the most powerful entity that we have. It's more powerful than what most people realize they can do. You can literally create the life that you want, overcome any difficulty, overcome any, pretty much most major illnesses, and, well, literally create the life that you want.
Well, remember, the mind is what it creates everything from planting crops to the most sophisticated mechanical, electrical gadget in the world.
Yep.
And if the mind is optimal, that's what it does. It creates. Now, the important thing is to create your health. Be at peace. Unless you are threatened immediately with something that's physically going to attack you, you need to detach from all other thoughts about danger, because anxiety creates fear, which leads to depression and every known disease.
Let me make a comment on that. What I found on my in our practice and in everything, in every way, people who are in the future, people who are always thinking ahead about all the possible things that could go wrong or otherwise, that's anxiety. That's not being present here in the moment. People who are always in the past about all the bad things that happened and they keep bringing it back into the present moment, that's depression for the most part. So the key is to life, to success, to everything, literally, is to be here now, to be in the present moment. And one of the ways to go with that is work on your mind. And we can help with that.
Well, indeed, whether it's pain, depression, anxiety, hypertension. For instance, just this morning, I saw a lady whose blood pressure was up. And as I would say, 90% of the time in my findings, she had far advanced pre-diabetic neuropathy. The vibratory sensation in both feet was severely decreased, and her husband's feet were even number than hers.
Wow.
Neither one of them had a hemoglobin A1C. The average physician is stupid when it comes to diagnosing pre-diabetes. I'm talking about unbelievably inept stupid.
Let me give an analogy. If somebody were to tell me that I'm just a little bit pregnant, does that make any sense? I mean, if you have a sugar issue, metabolic issue, you have a metabolic issue. You need to address it.
And the fasting blood sugar is stupid and useless in most cases.
You need a 3-month hemoglobin A1C and know where you've been.
Right. And I would say a minimum of 15% of all patients who come into our clinic have early to sometimes advanced pre or early diabetes.
And there's so many easy ways to work with that naturally without drugs.
It's
easy.
Totally controllable. Now, this lady, of course, also was on a stupid statin drug, which is even worse than being on insulin.
Yeah.
And yet she is, well.
So let's kind of round things up. So diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, chronic disease,
coronary artery disease.
You name it, any kind of chronic disease. It doesn't have to be your reality. It doesn't have to be there. I mean, there's ways to work with it naturally. Yes.
So Patrice was wondering if PEMF device works for essential.
For what?
Essential tumors. Does PEMF work?
Oh, essential. Yes, it works for all kind of tumor, both for essential as well as Parkinsonian.
Yes.
Wondering what she can do with
for what? Oh, now there, however, my top recommendation will be Fire and Air Bliss. It takes 2 to 3 months of daily application of Fire and Air Bliss, but 90+% of the time it will take it away.
Just mention about a little bit of the history of the Bliss oils in a very nutshell.
Well, I mean, I discovered these circuits in 1995 and had to stimulate with electricity. But in 2011, I discovered it's even simpler, safer, and quicker to do it with Bliss oils of specific nature applied to the acupuncture points.
And it works.
Yeah.
Yes.
I call it transcutaneous acupuncture.
And you can also find that on the website, realholisticdoc.com. Wonderful. No needles involved. Nice and easy.
Now, back to Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Shealy-Sorin.
And now, again, it's your turn to call 417-447-1777. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hi, Norm and Sergey. This is Helene from Reno,
Hi.
Nevada. Hi.
Yeah.
I might have missed that, but Patrice on Facebook, she asked a good question, the same question I have on familial essential tremors.
Familial essential tremor.
The PEMF would work, you said, and where would you put it?
Okay, let's talk about it. We had a couple of questions during the break, so let's address it properly here, and thank you so much for asking. So the question from Helene is that for essential tremor, and does PEMF, what we talked about earlier today, electromagnetic therapy, does it have capacity or potential there?
Yes, I would put it on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. I have a question for the scamdemic and older people. I am 68. I actually had a doctor's appointment, and she was very concerned about me because of my age. Are people who are older higher at risk for COVID?
Well, statistically speaking, they seem to be higher, but they're more susceptible to everything. I mean, we do get a little weaker. Again, I, at soon to be 88 years of age, still feel as good as I did at age 26.
Mm-hmm. Let me jump into that question as well, because this is a very essential question. And I get a lot of these things in the emergency room and in the office, in the setting. The issue is not so much the age. And I ask people, and I'm going to ask you as out there as well, listening and watching, if you didn't know how old you were, how old would you feel? And that's the question. Because I feel like in my 20s, and I'm well more than that. I'm in my 40s. Dr. Shealy, you said earlier you feel like
26.
So you feel younger than I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Good on you. Okay, you've been doing this for 40 years more than I have, right? So the self-regulation and everything else. So the question and the issue is, and Helen, thank you so much for asking. It's not so much your chronological number 76, 54, 20, 27. It's a question of how is your immune system? How is your general health? We have people in our practice who are well in their 80s and 90s, and they're a lot better off than some of the 20-year-olds who are basically terrible.
And it's mostly attitude.
Right. So it's not, and again, just like with scamdemic, and I'm not going to get into the politics of it, is it's common sense, lack of common sense. Excuse me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask you how each of you use the scalar device?
Scalar device, wonderful question. Let's talk about scalar device and a little bit of a base.
Well, of course, I have one on my desk aimed at my body all day when I'm at the clinic.
Yes.
And when I'm home, I have it all night towards the top of my bed. So I get it about 15 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. And me the same as well. It's at the bedside where I sleep, and then there's also in the office. So I'm basically surrounded by 24/7 unless I'm walking around or doing something. And the scalar, I just want to mention, one of the benefits of scalar, significant benefits, is free radical reduction, but also there's many other benefits as well. And that's another of the devices. Works well with PEMF as well. So I would say as much as possible, 24/7, Helen, if you can.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks for calling. And good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon. I was calling in for someone else here, and I'll read this across to you here. This is a young lady. I'm calling in for a young lady who's lacking in calcium. I think she said she's been affecting her depression. She said her doctor tested her and told her she is around 31 on the calcium level.
Calcium score low, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bones and everything else, right? The concern for osteoporosis things.
Yes.
Yes.
She just started taking 5,000 international units a day of vitamin D3 just a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
She's about, she's 36, weighs 136 pounds, and about 5'6".
Mm.
And she's taking Zoloft
for depression.
Yuck.
Yuck. Mm-hmm.
Depression. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if you had any input.
Two other major things she needs: boron, at least 9 milligrams a day of boron.
Let's make it 12 for that purpose.
Well, she only had 36 pounds, so 9 to 12 milligrams. But secondly, she needs magnesium lotion. Magnesium by mouth is a waste of money and time, but it's absorbed many times better through the skin than it is through the mouth. And, bone is a composite of calcium with magnesium. So if you don't have adequate magnesium, you can't make bone no matter how much calcium you got.
I'm going to actually jump in here. And thank you for asking, because calcium is not really the issue with the bones. When people get bone scans that basically show osteoporosis or they have fractures, we get plenty of calcium in the food. That's not an issue. Question is retention of calcium and how does it go into the bones properly and not into the bloodstream, causing kidney stones and all kinds of things of that nature. And that's a question of distribution, not the amount. So how do you distribute it properly? How do you use it properly? That is where the vitamin D, magnesium, and boron come in.
So she should continue D3? So she should continue D3 then?
Oh, yes, definitely. That's top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 5,000 a day, which she's been taking. Is that
yes,
good?
That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Actually,
at her weight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had one other question to confirm if the PMF device helps with depression, and what is the Shealy cap?
Yes, the PEMF device, of course, on top of the cap, of course, makes
Right.
it easier to put on the head, but it's actually, it's a halo that fits perfectly around the baseball cap, actually, by design, of course, but the idea with PEMF, it's also going to help with the bones. So that's great.
Okay.
It'll work on all ends here. Fantastic.
Okay. So it helps with depression as well?
Yes, absolutely. It's my favorite treatment for depression.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And the Shealy, I had one more question. What is the Shealy cap?
Oh, Shealy cap. Oh, that's just a hat.
Yeah, we just make it available for people who don't have a baseball cap.
But if you have a baseball cap,
any baseball cap works.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it also help with the back, because back ability, tried everything else with that.
Will it help with the back as well, or no relative?
As far as back pain, yeah, I believe that maybe it may have potential on that. And
Yes.
definitely would love to hear from you after you do this. Perhaps next radio show, yeah?
Okay, that sounds good. All right. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you for calling.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
And now you're on the air.
The great international, world-renowned Dr. Norman Shealy.
Big
and
Bob.
Sergio, Dr. Sergio. Hey, how are y'all?
We are great. What's going on?
Well, I've been, besides the music business, I've been real active working with just a couple of hundred over the years of these veterans that had the PTSD.
Oh, yes.
And I'm kind of curious, the Gamma thing, you showed that to me, and I'm so intrigued with that. I want one of them so bad I can hardly, even contain myself. And I urge anybody out there, you need to find out about this. It's pretty miraculous. Now, I don't know anything about what would help the PTSD thing, but I know these veterans, up to 20 of them a day, are taking their lives across the country. And
yes. I definitely think it is, again, at the top of my list for PTSD. They need the vitamins that we've been talking about. They need the autogenic training. They need to do some of the middle retraining things from our Biogenics program. But that combination is a cure.
Including PMF. Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, God bless you all. Have a fantastic weekend. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Bob. Have a good one.
Thank you.
And now is your turn at 417-447-1777. If you want to ask a question or make a comment, because everything in the world is related to your health.
Let's talk a little bit about PTSD and what that means.
Well, PTSD means that you've got more than a usual amount of depression after some kind of trauma. That's
Stressful
really all
event.
it means.
Yes.
You're just twice as bad as the average person after some kind of, almost any kind of trauma can cause it. It isn't necessarily trauma to the head by any means. It's trauma to any part of the body or any part of the mind.
That's right.
It is a reaction of, I'm severely damaged. What the heck can I do? And it's an inability to cope with the amount of stress that you've got. And good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello?
Hi, Dr. Shealy, Dr. Sorin.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's John Parker from Florida.
John. Hi.
I want to thank you for your advice. Remember, I had that tooth that was in question.
Exactly.
Yes.
After I talked to you guys, I made an appointment for a vitamin drip and minerals, and while I was deciding what to do, whether to try to save the tooth or not. Anyhow, my medical condition got so bad with throbbing in my jaw that they finally pulled the tooth. When the dentist pulled it out, it was already cracked. So, and I'm feeling much better. And sometimes those, I also took some antibiotics, but sometimes those hidden infections can affect the whole body.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it.
And, one more thing, John, is that dental, and people don't realize it because I see people with bad teeth everywhere, literally more emergency room than our practice, but the dental is actually connected to the rest of the organ systems. There's actually meridians and acupuncture circuits that are actually have been proven and shown with each tooth is connected to a certain organ. So it's not just a question of a bad tooth. It's a question of inflammation. It's a question of lots of bad stuff. Yeah, you bet. I'm glad you got that taken care of.
And I'm also calling for my friend. He's my age, around 65. He has a PSA level of 17.5.
Well, 90% of the time, that's benign prostatic hypertrophy. Now, there's a whole bunch of things to do that, John, that I would do before I would have a biopsy or allow somebody to go into my body. But if you send me an email, I'll be happy to give you a list of all the supplements I would suggest you try for a month.
Oh, that'd be great. Thanks, guys. Be well and take care.
Thanks for calling. And good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hi, Dr. Shealy. I was calling to ask you a rather complicated question, but hopefully you'll be the genius to solve this. I recently had cancer surgery, and they did find a positive for the fluid in the actual cytology where they did the flush, that fluid was malignant. In the actual, I think it's called like Palin. Are you familiar with what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Okay. My question is in small number of cases of that fluid having the positive malignancy, some of those cells, if you have a very, very, like a stage 1 type of cancer that was all contained, there's a small chance that those cells might not ever develop fully into a cancerous cell to attach into the peritoneal lining. Is there any test to determine if those cells will develop or will not develop?
I don't think there's any test that will tell you that. What I would do always in that situation is intravenous vitamin C, 50 to 75 grams with a Myers cocktail. That can totally destroy those cells.
Okay, that would be awesome. And I know you guys provide that at the office. Okay, because supposedly the stage came back 1A, fully contained, but they did say it was what they call a serous, highly, I guess, aggressive grade 3 type of cancer. So they're recommending 25 full pelvic radiations and chemo because of that fluid.
Well, personally, I would take 10 IVs of vitamin C or 1,000 of IV to C before I would take the radiation and chemotherapy.
Start with
So
10.
that's why I'm calling you, because they told me I have to start that in like 4 weeks. So I have 4 weeks, and then can we test that fluid to see if it's negative? Or do you know?
Well, yes, why not?
Okay, well, I didn't know if it had to be during the actual surgery or what. That's why I was asking. Okay, because I've already been assigned a case number to the National Cancer Registry for this positive actual fluid, in the paleontology, whatever they call that, the cytology, rather. So I would like to get on record for you that this type of treatment can have a different prognosis.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome for not only me, of course, but for all the other people suffering in this type of a circumstance, because I'm sure you're aware that what they're trying to do is, because of the type of cancer, we already knew I had a tumor. We already knew I had this from the biopsy. They did go ahead and do this test. The insurance companies are fighting with the doctors for doing these, because they're only reimbursing for this cost at about $50 to $70. The doctors are charging $17,000 to do this flush. So what they've done now is stop adding it to the staging, so that therefore it won't be a medical necessity, so they can stop doing it. But by stopping it from happening, someone such as myself, I've just been given a stage 1A, hey, it's all contained, we got it all. But now, with it being in that peritoneal cytology, we know there are cancer cells present, But other people are not going to have that benefit because they're trying to ban it from being a medical necessity. So I would really I know you're against the big pharma and insurance, stuff like that. I think we really need to get something like this on record now that it's been registered. I mean, do you follow my point on that?
Oh, absolutely. Well,
okay, awesome. Okay, well, everybody out there that prays, please say a prayer that this gets contained as well, because I've always been young and healthy and vital, and this is not my idea of fun.
No. Well,
not at all.
An intravenous vitamin C or 2 or 3 or 10 would certainly be worth considering.
Okay,
And,
how many dosages would you recommend, did you say?
Well, I would take 10 in this case to try to be certain.
Okay, yeah, I definitely. And one last thing is, I don't have any of the precursors that would have even initiated the first cancer. Have you ever heard of the gadolinium NSF, where it actually causes the fibrosis of the skin, and then it even goes beyond that into the actual organs and tissue?
Right, absolutely.
Well, my lungs came back showing that they're now fibrous, and I'm like, wait a second, that was just determined in the.
And you've not been a smoker.
No, it's nothing like that. Nothing like that.
Well, lungs disease occurs from many different, again, weaknesses of the immune system.
Okay, well, right, I understand that. It just kind of all happened after I got the gadolinium poisoning.
Yep.
So that's why I was thinking the fibrous, the uterus, and then this, and I'm just like, this is a lot. Well, I appreciate your input, and I will definitely be getting hold of the office to get the IV.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Oh, and I'm just going to add one more thing. If you're, I hope you're still in the air, but if not,
yes,
that's
I'm
okay.
Here, honey.
Yeah, okay, yeah. There's another thing now that you mentioned gadolinium poisoning. We do a procedure called laser detoxification, and it's still on a special, and that's a way to basically detoxify some of the stuff that's causing you the trouble.
Right. Well, I didn't. This is Diane. I've been in there with you guys on a couple of occasions. Yeah. I don't know whether or not it's beyond that at this point, because it already turned my skin into that thickening, all that crazy stuff, and it's been like 2 years.
Gotcha.
So that's why I don't know. It's just that's the only thing that anybody can actually conclude might have been, indicative of how this started, because my uterus was fibrous, and I never had that problem before. It just happened pretty much overnight after the exposure to the gadolinium, after it turned into the NSF level, because it affected the kidneys and all that. So, okay, guys, well, I will be seeing you soon, and you guys need to save me, because I sure have a lot left to give.
Good. Blessings, dear.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thanks for calling.
And I'm just going to say one thing. We will send a prayer as well.
Of course.
Yes.
And if you've got a question, 417-447-1777. Right now for Open Line Wednesday. This is your opportunity. You've got a couple more minutes. We could give you the answer to questions about anything, because it's all related to your health.
Mm-hmm.
And just a quick mention, if you want my favorite thing that every human being should use to help detach from the current scamdemic, Autogenic Training. Just go to our website, realholisticdoc.com. Sign up for Autogenic Focus. You get it free. If you don't want the email newsletters after that, you can unsign. I hope you'll keep getting our newsletters for free. But you can practice Autogenic Training for 3 months and train yourself to just say, who cares, to 99% of the world's nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, are you sleeping well? I mean, I have always been a good sleeper. I need 8 hours. I can get by with 7, but I like 8. And I don't miss a night of getting that. But we've got a call. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, hello, Dr. Norm?
Yes.
Yes. My name's Sid. I'm from Florida. And interestingly enough, I purchased about 3 weeks ago for my dog something that's called an CC loop. And it's a PEMF device. And I'm new to this type of technology. And I have some general questions He's been treated for oral cancer. And I wanted to know, first of all, if let me turn my radio off.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When I first did the first treatment, it caused extreme relaxation. And there isn't a lot of guidance provided on actually administering the loop. And so is there an optimum time, like after exercise, before eating, after eating? He's also on Chinese herbs. He's being treated holistically, and there's been some amazing improvement in the size and the number of tumors in his mouth just in 5, 6 weeks. I would also like to know, the device that I have has a planned obsolescence, meaning that you only are guaranteed like 250 15-minute applications.
Wow.
So I'm asking that because if I had known that there was a human version, I would have just bought the human version. So I'd like to know if your device also has a planned shelf life.
Well,
for its use.
No. It's absolutely guaranteed. With any defect, we'll replace it within the first year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not intended to poop out after. Oh my goodness! See,
No, it can be used 24. I mean, my own one that I'm using at home, I actually leave on 24 hours a day on my bed because I sleep with it all night and I never turn it off, and it's been there for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing! Yes, it is animal device, which is vet recommended, as FDA regulations are dictating the and it goes around their neck. It's called the loop because you can put it around their neck.
Yeah. Well, actually, I often hang hours around the neck and just over the upper chest.
Mm-hmm.
You can put it anywhere on the body.
I'm just so glad that I came across your email because this got me thinking now, listening to your show. It's like, I need to get one for myself too, and the whole family can use.
We can share it with you. You can share out yours with the dog.
Exactly.
I've got a patient in North Carolina who does it for both.
I'll jump in with a quick story. Actually, one of our patients, we only have a small amount of time left, but I'll share this. I have a patient whose dog never used to basically come near her, like especially, not necessarily come near, but would hang out on their own. But ever since she got the device, the dog would basically crawl into where the device is,
Right. Now, is there an optimum time? Like, should you avoid doing it right before eating?
No, 24/7, really.
24 hours a day is okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to have spoken with you.
Thanks for calling. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Now that we're off the radio specifically, but we're still on Facebook Live, let's just finish with a few thoughts and summary. So I'll just give my quick summary of what I think was the most valuable. Well, everything's valuable, really. But we started discussing the PEMF, pulse electromagnetic field device, and especially the one that we have tested that we work with that puts the brain into gamma. So that it does basically that we talk about the animal that is for basically anything biological that we see out there. But again, we're not animal doctors, able to help all kinds of creatures out there, which is wonderful.
Bottom line, in my opinion, is almost any disorder or dysfunction or problem you have, it's worth considering the Gamma PEMF.
Yes. And the way to think of disease, most people just think disease. This is my condition, this is my life. It's dis-ease, lack of ease. So bring the body back into ease, the mind, body, spirit alignment, and most things will actually correct themselves. That's where we are. Any final thoughts or?
No, just have a good week.
Have a good week. We'll see you again next Wednesday.